Hey there everybody, it's Mike Delisio with another Dice Tower Daily Unboxing, and today we're taking a look at Imperial Struggle, the global rivalry, Britain and France, 1697 to 1789, by Ananda Gupta and Jason Matthews and GMT Games, a two-player game. This is the spiritual successor, as it says here, to Twilight Struggle, one of the most well-renowned, well-regarded two-player games ever, I would say. It's a top-rated game on Board Game Geek for many, many years. And so this is a game that is really about card play, although it looks like this one has, like in Twilight Struggle, also has a map element as well. Okay, I'm not going to be going into a tremendous amount of detail. This is an unboxing video, and I'm sure when the inevitable review comes out, then you'll get a lot more detail. I'm just trying to show you what's inside the box right now. And first thing you see are some counter trays, which are always very, very nice and oftentimes essential to speeding up setup and teardown for a game that has a lot of cardboard chits and components for it. So here we've got our rules of play, the basic rules of the game, the summary, the components, different spaces on the map, naval spaces, political spaces, market spaces, etc., and then cards. There's going to be a lot of card play. This game is really driven, well, Twilight Struggle was driven by cards, and I assume that Imperial Struggle will be much the same. So, game sequence, Imperial Struggle has 6 peace turns with 4 wars interspersed. Peace turns are just called turns. Each peace turn represents between 5 and 17 years. And each player will select and use up to 4 investment tiles per turn. And so there's a sequence here that takes place for the peace turn and a different structure for the war turns. And it goes into much more detail over each of the different types of turns, the peace turn and the war turns. And then it talks about the action rounds, diplomatic actions, military actions, taking debt, and then we've got wars. Okay. Advantage tiles, treaty points, optional rules, and a setup of the cardboard components within. Then we've got our playbook, which is a significant size here. Shows you setting up, kind of goes right through, going in very, looks like very minute detail, turn by turn, move by move, so that you can figure out. This is a game that obviously has a lot going on, and this is giving you some very, very specific examples, kind of a walkthrough of a couple of, few turns, which would potentially be very helpful. Historical background, obviously this is a game that has a huge historical element to it, as did Twilight Struggle. Okay. We've got our nice player aid sequence of plays. A lot of information on those, one for each player. Some more player aids. War of the Spanish Succession, 7 Years' War, French and Indian War. All right. And then you've got a whole bunch, as you might imagine, of cardboard components. I will not be punching any of these out, but you can see that these are of a standard thickness and quality cardboard chits. Really about what you would expect from GMT Games, if you've ever played any of those. Player mats, the French player mat. These are thick cardboard. And the British player mat. And then we've got kind of like a central board, I would say, the event place for the event deck, draw and discard pile, the investment tiles that will be available. And we've got a very, very large and quite hefty map that I will attempt to show you, although it's very likely I'm going to have to zoom out and still potentially not get it all in there. Let's see. Yeah, this is a large map. See how much of this we're getting. We're getting actually a fair amount of it on camera. I'm going to zoom out, see if I can zoom out. Yep, that's as far as I can zoom out. But I think you've got the general, you see most of the main components of this board, okay? There seems to be a whole lot going on, but there's obviously clear places to put your cardboard components throughout. And then we've got our decks of cards here. We'll flip through some of these. The backs. Okay. Just going to flip through some of these. Obviously, historical artwork, portraiture, and text-driven cards. I mean, this is a game where you are playing cards that are going to have a whole lot of information on them. So if it's anything like Twilight Struggle, it takes a good amount of time to become familiar with the cards in the deck. And really, until you get familiar with the cards in the deck, it's difficult to get a sense for all of the different strategies that are involved. I know Twilight Struggle is a game that if you are playing with somebody that is more experienced than you, that knows their deck, and you don't know your deck, you are obviously at a distinct disadvantage. I would assume that Imperial Struggle is going to be the same way. Again, that is an assumption, but I don't think it's a particularly outrageous assumption. All right, so there you go. I think you've got a pretty good idea of the cards, the layout, the iconography, etc. And I think you have a pretty good idea of the cardboard components as well within Imperial Struggle. Thank you for watching another Dice Tower Daily Unboxing.